Today we're going to be talking about AI feedback to coach frontline staff and boost performance metrics. Now, there are a lot of frontline staff, so we're going to be focusing kind of on call center and on patient interactions. And I think those two are a little bit more similar than what we may think. Macorva, we work with a range of clients, and call center and patient interactions both end up being these very difficult frontline positions to get right with a lot of expectations all the way around. So that's some of what we'll be getting into. So a little bit about myself. I'm the founder of Macorva. We use AI to bridge employee, customer, patient experiences. And really our goal is to take all that information and make sure it gets put into a usable format by individual managers, by individual frontline employees, et cetera, et cetera. So of course, there are a lot of survey platforms out there. Our goal is really using AI to go from this big pile of information to something that's personalized, something that each individual person can actually use to get better at their job. I have a technical background, chemical engineering, nuclear engineering, medical physics, not the most common background for a customer and employee experience founder. As my previous company, we treated cancer patients with radiation, and we wrote software to do that. Then I was moved into management after we were acquired, and realized that these enterprise grade tools for employee and customer and patient experience could use a little bit more help. It could use a little bit more modern AI in order to really personalize these results. So the biggest thing we're going to talk about at first is that everybody has new expectations. That's your employees, customers, patients, everyone. The world is changing, and the world is changing very quickly. So with some of the things we think about when we think about the programs we have now, when we think about the tools we may want to use, new tools, existing tools, where do we want to get to? In this evolving frontline landscape. The workforce evolution is huge. Diverse teams now. Almost every company now has a mix of remote, hybrid, on-site staff providing support, doing various tasks with tons of new technologies, tons of new expectations. Generative AI has hit everyone hard. It is something that's new, exciting. We love it. But it has just completely changed the way we work over the last few years, and it's going to continue to do that over the next few years too. Business demands. My goodness, now if you have a bad experience with a call center operator, with a patient care person, you are now just a few seconds away from being able to post that on the internet and having it be heard loudly by everyone around the world. But it's not just that, it's also our employees. So we're fighting kind of this dual battle where we, of course, have to keep customers, patients happy, but we also have to keep employees happy. And, it all goes hand in hand. Happy employees that are well-educated, that have great development plans lead to happier customers and patients. And so it's really, getting this whole motion correct is super crucial. So when we think about future ready skills, all of a sudden, everybody has skill gaps compared to a couple of years ago. There is new technology everywhere. Being able to use, apply, and make sure generative AI is being used in the right places is huge. Being able to make sure that we're using generative AI, for example, to make sure all of our frontline staff is just displaying every competency we want. Empathy, active listening, process adherence. These are really big things that all of a sudden now we have more tools to be able to look at. Upskilling. Okay, now that we've identified skill gaps, what are we going to do to train and to bring everyone up to that same level that we want? Adaptability is just being able to live in this world of these new tools, these new processes, these new procedures, and being able to make sure our whole workforce is able to take advantage of all this new technology. So why do we do all this? It's because, first of all, I'm going to keep coming back to it. Employees do seek meaningful growth and development. It is, again, if we make employees happy and well-trained, that's going to just automatically show up in our customer metrics. And so, of course, one of the things we do at Macorva is help figure out how to do that. And we'll be talking about that in the future too. Meeting these evolving customer and patient expectations just requires these new levels. All of a sudden, if you've noticed these last few years, it's just expectations get higher and higher and higher. If you have a grumpy employee for a few minutes, all of a sudden that creates a much bigger problem than it did a few years ago, whether that's on the phones, whether that's with the patient, anywhere. It is now more and more crucial than it was to make sure we have a fantastic frontline workforce. And then, of course, closing these skill gaps is going to directly increase the performance of employees and all your performance metrics for ROIs and business goals. So some of the challenges we see is that we now have a huge volume of interactions. There are so many ways to now have your company be in touch with your customer, your patient staff, calls, visits, chats, messages, so many different ways. How do we monitor all of them? We, of course, can no longer monitor them with 100% manual review process. So we need to start finding new ways to review what's been going on. When we do have coaching, it's subjective. I think everyone is aware. Some people have some coaches are the most amazing people in the world. Some maybe not quite as amazing at getting people up. So even when we do have coaches, when we do take the time to make sure our frontline staff is doing great, it can lead to mismatched results. It can be difficult to connect specific actions to actual results. So how does AI help this? I like to think AI is helping take this pile of data and making it more usable to individual managers and individual employees. And that's really what it all boils down to, is how do we go from a big pile of data to filtering that out, to summarizing it, to figuring out what do we need to do to bring every employee up to the highest level they can be. And it's going to go through, AI is able to do data-driven personalized coaching plans. That's, to me, the biggest thing, is that it can sort through this huge pile of data, figure out what it means to each individual person. So now all of a sudden, instead of just having 50 people in a classroom and they're all hearing the same thing, we now have personalized data on what each individual needs to improve at, and we can have a coaching plan on how they get there. AI synthesizes feedback data, so it can also look at surveys, reviews, employee experience, all these different sources of information that form this pile of data that we want to act on to identify trends across roles. And the other cool thing is that for anything that's recorded, calls, chats, etc., we can now have AI review 100% of those interactions. Now, of course, just because it's reviewed 100% doesn't mean that we now want 100% to be manually reviewed after that. It now acts as a great filter to where now we can use AI to review every single recorded interaction and then manually review the ones that AI says, hey, here's where something went really right, or here's where something went really wrong. Let's use some personal attention to fix this, or give someone a pat on the back. Fairness and equity is huge. It's not just about each individual feeling like they are in a fair and equitable process. It's about doing the best job for everyone in your company. So we want to look at objective data, and that's where AI really excels, is that AI, you tell it, here are the goals, here's what we want to do, here's this big pile of data. It's going to do the same thing every time and get you that objectivity. It's going to have consistent standards. So it's going to be able to apply the same criteria across every individual. And it's going to have very transparent linkage. As people who have seen our AI reports know, we love to cite, here is where the data came from. And that's really one of the cool things about generative AI now, is you give it a pile of data, it will summarize it, and it will also cite, this is due to this because of this because of this. And it's one of those things that, first of all, it's super helpful when you're actually trying to apply the data, getting that summary. But second of all, as an employee, you feel like everything you do matters more, because now it's not just a data point that gets lost somewhere in the ether. It's something that you get to see over and over when you see a performance review, when you see a report and it says, hey, Joe did this, he was great. And you get to say, oh, look, this is actually being bubbled up to the top because it's something very good. It's something that now people can recognize. I get rewarded. Other people see that I get rewarded. And all of a sudden, now the more good things that get bubbled up to the top, the happier employees are, the more they want to do them. So overall strategies for frontline development, again, identifying skill gaps. And this is crucial because, again, using AI, we can really look for specific areas in individuals. So it's no longer just our hold time is long. It's now all of a sudden, hey, these couple employees, they need a little bit more empathy. These couple employees, they're not adhering to the processes that we set as well. So we need different training for each individual, and AI can now start to show what we need to do for personalized coaching, to make targeted recommendations. Okay, so if they don't have empathy, then here, hey, you have an L&D course that helps with that, do this. If they need process improvements, these are the processes they are not getting, they need a little bit more training in these. Everything is data-driven feedback. We can now cite the data. It's not just looking through a pile of data, it is looking through a pile of data, being able to cite it, being able to go through hundreds of pages in seconds to be able to summarize and cite the data. Tracking progress is huge. So now that you have this all set up, you want to be able to show, hey, before we did this, we were down here. Now our CSAT has improved to this. Look at the amazing progress we've done. This is the result of doing all this personalized development. And then, as I said before, reinforcing success is huge. Yes, of course, as any team that manages a bunch of frontline staff knows, it feels like there's just fires everywhere. There's this problem, this problem, this problem, but we got to take the time to give employees pats on the back when they do a great job. And that's the other nice thing AI does too, is it bubbles up pretty much both of those to the top, the best and maybe not so best. Here's the fires that you need to put out, but hey, here's a reminder of all these employees you need to go give a pat on the back to. Make sure everyone sees it so they feel like they did a great job, and everyone else understands they get recognized when they do a great job. So broad data input, again, AI can be used to analyze 100% of all recorded interactions. That's amazing. That is a power we're getting literally just this year. Brand new technology. We did not have that years ago. I'm sure you're able to have 100% coverage, but that used to cost millions and millions of dollars for relatively small operations. Now the price of that is much, much lower thanks to AI. This is one of the fields that AI is really, really being able to make great strides in. Objective insights, themes, empathy, compliance, objective coaching opportunities with cited data. And then again, everything needs to lead to performance gains. We also need to think about how we're going to measure the impact, how we're going to measure, of course, CSAT, but let's look at like the reasons too. The reasons customers are happy. Let's think about employee experience. Let's measure the increase and EX satisfaction of our staff. So all these go into the same thought process as we design these. For personalized coaching, of course, we want to analyze everything. We need to process and aggregate feedback data and monitor employee performance. How do we do this? Ultimately, we want to end up with customized dashboards and interventions. So as you think about, these are great concepts, this sounds really great. How do I actually implement this? And what do I look for? And our answer is always, well, the biggest thing to do is empower individual managers. Give them dashboards that show how their team is doing and how each individual is doing and exactly what that team and those individuals need. Let them do their job and just supercharge them with AI information to help them know exactly what the highest priorities are. Use AI to flag these interactions that are amazing or that might be fires that need to be put out right away. And all this is just empower your managers to do the best job in the least amount of time possible. It's to give them that productivity. So again, we're not seeing AI replacing huge teams right now. We're seeing AI get us to a point where we're able to run a business in a way that we've always wanted to. We've always wanted to be able to have personalized coaching, personalized development plans, and now we can. You want to, for your AI insights, you need to pinpoint coaching needs, highlight performance trends, and identify skill gaps. Then those need to translate into manager tools, because that's the whole point of identifying these, is you need to show your managers, hey, here's when you have one-on-ones, here are the things you should talk about, this point, this point, this point. And then when they make development plans, let's do the first draft. Let's use AI to use the first draft to make those development plans and make those goals. And then as staff looks at this process, they're happy because they now look at all these performance documents and they see, oh, look, there's objective feedback evidence here. I am now, it's not just here's how my manager feels about me, and maybe that's great, maybe it's not. It is my manager is able to cite all of this feedback that I've had from other employees, from customers, from patients, and now use that to make these development plans, now use that in my performance documents. So it feels like you're just in this much tighter process because we're able to use AI to actually make use of all this data we have. So the other problem we have is this is great, but we have dispersed teams. We have hybrid teams. We have people at home, people in the office. We have half and half. It's a challenge. And so that really highlights why we need these consistent processes. The nice thing about AI is that it is behind the scenes. It's able to handle all these in the exact same manner using the same process, no matter what. So you get that consistency, you get the unified analysis. And then that means that each individual employee gets an equal opportunity, whether they're at work all the time, whether they're at home all the time. They are when AI is doing that core set of manager empowerment, each manager is now equipped with that same amazing set of tools based on that same data, to where, now employees don't necessarily feel like, well, because I'm not in the office as much as Steve, I may not be treated as fairly, because again, using AI, we can now go to more and more data-driven performance management results. AI coaching challenges, of course, the first one, budget constraints. So we always tell people, hey, do something that lets you quickly demonstrate value, lets you quickly show, hey, this is how CSAT is increasing. Think about what metrics are low, how can we get them higher? Let's set goals, demonstrate that. And then of course, also talk to your management about how, hey, AI does a lot of tedious work. It handles all this analysis, it handles all this summary, it handles going through this pile of data and picking out this, so our employees can feel like they're being heard, they're being treated fairly, and that when we make a coaching plan, when we make development plans, they're based on correct data. Stakeholder buy-in, data analytics is key. You need to review that with the strategic business and operational priorities. They should align with the overall company goals. It's usually pretty straightforward to do that. And then communicate these benefits. So don't forget, after you do a great job doing all this, make sure you go to your manager and say, hey, look at what the great job we did. Look how we made these numbers improve. Look how we made our efficiency improve, and pat yourself on the back, and make sure you don't become a statistic either. Make sure everyone above you understands the cool things you've done. If you see low staff or manager engagement, that means you need to make the tools easier. You need to emphasize that we're now using actual data instead of opinions. This simplifies performance discussions. If they need support, you have to offer ongoing support. But again, it's all about having these easy to use tools where all these AI powered amazing things are going on in the background, and they're highlighting things to look at. It's not creating more complexity. If there's resistance to change, again, it's clearly articulate why. This is hard. Everyone has higher expectations. Customers, patients, employees all have higher expectations. This is why we have to change to keep up with the times. We're going to showcase early wins and positive testimonials, and make sure that the platform shows easy access to insights, so they can see exactly, again, what's going. Make sure you're patting yourself on the back as all these things go up. So let's talk about what this looks like in our system. And this is just, I think we do a great job of using AI to do all of this together. So we take this big pile of data from surveys, from manager notes, from all these different sources. And our goal is to analyze everything, summarize everything, and generate scorecards for each individual operator, for maybe each patient care person, for maybe each business unit, for maybe each location, et cetera, et cetera. Offer customer patient experience insights, send out AI reports to these business leaders on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, depending on how often they want them. Again, let's push this data to people because we don't want to rely on staff, on management, logging into a system and looking at a dashboard. AI now lets us push summaries, really, really good summaries that highlight all these key trends to people. So let's make sure we're using that. Of course, we have to integrate with everything, your EMR, CRM, contact center platform, HRS, et cetera, and then bring this all to the management level. You want to be able to make sure your surveys, your feedback collection is automated. This is something that we don't want to send out manually. There's tons and tons of great tools to make sure we have automated collection. When we get to the patient side, I love automated patient feedback because EMRs do a great job. They have they don't just have the information about what time, the patient information, they have the nurse, the attending, they have this rich set of information. So now we can not only just ask about, hey, how's your experience at this location, but we know what procedure to ask about. We know who else to ask about that. So now all of a sudden we can start collecting this really targeted data. And at the end of the day, instead of saying, my goodness, I don't know what to do with all this data, I have this huge pile of data on each location, all these procedures, all these individuals, what am I supposed to do with it? Well, that's where a system like Macorva comes in and says, okay, well, what we're going to do with it is now we're going to be able to segment all this off and, hey, send reports, teach people about these, about your x-rays. That means your radiology manager gets a weekly report on all the patient feedback automatically. You set it up once and then it goes and goes for years and years. So again, it's thinking about who do we want to get these reports, how often, and set up the process and go. End of the day, we also want to make sure managers are empowered with performance and development plans. And so AI is fantastic at looking at all this data, generating streamlined performance documents, doing the first draft of performance reviews, of employee development plans, goals and objectives. It does a really great job. Again, going through, summarizing, citing data. It saves managers hours and hours of time, but more importantly than saving managers time to me is that employees feel really valued when they look at these extremely high quality performance documents. So it works on both sides. It's of course extremely efficient, but also it leads to higher employee engagement because employees see all the care that's taken to go into this. So I love this graph. It's just this really big picture concept of what we've talked about and what our system does and what you should be looking for in these modern systems. There is a lot of data: customer experience, engagement surveys, company objectives, department objectives, org charts, manager notes, employee self-assessments, learning and growth paths. Those are the big things that we need every single time we want to analyze employee performance. We want to improve business productivity. These are all the inputs we have to think about every single time. And so that's where AI is just great. It can take all that, synthesize it, and then now export reports, email, Slack, Teams. Here's your weekly report, your monthly report, your quarterly report of exactly what you want to do. It can do the first draft of performance reviews, of goals, of learning paths. And another just really nice way to think about things is scorecards for employees, for locations, for departments, for procedures. Say, I want to know every quarter how outpatient surgery is going, big picture. It's easy. You use AI, say, here's the pile of data to look at, and then do a report every quarter, send it to these 10 people. That's the type of technology that we now need to be thinking about when we think about how do we effectively train and monitor our frontline staff. So think about what happens when every team member gets coaching based on their complete set of performance, truly personalized feedback and targeted development, and everything's fueled by these data-driven insights. How do you think that impacts employee engagement and retention? We've seen very, very good impacts on this. And then, of course, don't forget about yourself. Make sure when you implement these things, make sure that you go to your boss and say, hey, look at all these improvements we did by making things more streamlined, more efficient. We've saved time. We've increased these metrics. So the big takeaways are that, look, at Macorva, we are huge fans of using AI to take this pile of data and make sure we're effectively using every little part of it. We're using it in a highly efficient manner. It is used to generate insights and summaries and citations. It is not used to take away decisions from managers. It's used to empower managers. It's used to efficiently give them the empowerment to do an extremely high quality job, to better coach, to better manage, to better make sure that your frontline employees are doing exactly what we want. And you're going to see that in your CSAT, your patient SAT, your adherence metrics, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is to give managers actionable insights so that now, instead of they are empowered every time they look at, hey, Susan, you did a great job on these 4 things. These 4 patients had the greatest things to say about you. I want to let you know it's bubbled up, it's heard. We really appreciate it. Ultimately, you put all that together, you end up with a strategic advantage. The companies that win now are going to be the companies that apply this at scale the fastest, because these tools are out there to summarize all this pile of data, make employees happy, make employees well trained, empower management to effectively do their job in a very efficient manner. And so we need to go out there and we need to win. And the companies that do that best are going to be the companies that have the biggest success over the next couple of years. So thank you very much. Like to pause here and answer any questions we have in the remaining 2 minutes. Let's see. All right. How do we ensure the platform is accurate and equitable when analyzing employee performance? That's a great job. Great question. That goes back to thinking about using AI to use this same set of criteria for every employee. One of the things we do, especially when it comes to very sensitive things like performance reviews, is we have our clients test out like 5, 10 performance reviews. Like, here, let's have a set of management notes that are this, and this. Let's have a set of feedback that looks like this. Now let's do this dry run and show you on these fake employees what that looks like to give you a good sense for how equitable the system is. We handle sensitive customer and patient data. What does security look like? Security is fantastic in Macorva. We are SOC 2 certified. We're HIPAA compliant. I come from a medical device background, so we understand the security needs. Generative AI is now this new thing where we have to worry about, is this data being used to train models? What's the generative AI security? And happy to say that we are at the forefront of that as well. All of our generative AI data is deleted immediately after it's processed, so we don't have anything like that to worry about. Wendy, multiple locations and some consistently score lower on customer SAT. Can Macorva's AI help us figure out what's causing it? That's a really great question. And yes, I'd say a couple things to help is AI is going to go through and it's going to be able to look at open comments to figure out exactly why, look at trends in open comments, and also just the way our surveys are designed with these easy attributes that people can tap. We see 99% of people tap these attributes. So even if they don't want to leave the detailed open comment, they're able to tap attributes that are good and bad and give you that information as to why. Our QA team uses manual scorecards. Can we integrate existing evaluation? Yes. The cool thing about AI-generated scorecards is that generative AI gives us that flexibility. We have a standard set of here's what our scorecards look like, but it's customizable. And generative AI is really, really good at being able to customize what scorecards look like, what performance management looks like, what goals look like. And so, yes, that's the good thing you should be thinking about generative AI is you should be thinking it's great at summarizing, at citing, and also customizing to exactly what we want. So with that said, it looks like we're right at time. Thank you guys very much for your time and have a great week. Thank you.